Hello, Goblins! It's Chris, Eldritch Pipes. We're here for a double episode of Case of Charles Dexter Ward. This is episode 7. This is one of my favourite episodes. We're going to get a whole load of lore from Dr. Eleanor Peck. I can't quite remember her name. Anyway, she sits down with a cup of tea and gives us the lowdown on the kind of occult goings on in human history. So, I'm probably going to be in different locations for both episodes, but for here, I've got a pipe to buff, so I'm going to get on with that. But we've got a way to go, so I'm not going to mess about anymore. I'm going to get started. Here we go, episode 7, Case of Charles Dexter Ward.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Charles? Charles, is that you? Charles, this is Dr. Willett. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Charles, I got your letter. It has me rather concerned.
Who is this?
It's Dr. Willett, Charles.
Did I miss an appointment?
We haven't had any appointments for 3 years, Charles. You sent me a letter, do you remember?
Of course, yes.
Well, it has me rather concerned.
About what?
About your state of mind, Charles. And about Dr. Allen.
Have you seen Alan?
No, I've never met Dr. Allen.
You must be careful around him. He's dangerous. He's a very dangerous man.
So I understand. Just what is going on there?
Nothing.
It hardly sounds like nothing.
I'm in a period of transition.
How's that?
Like a butterfly, Dr. Willett. I did try to tell you there was substance to my work.
You're claiming it's transformative in some way?
Transformative? Yes. You could say that. You could very well say that. I'm becoming a new man. A different man.
I think we should meet, Charles.
I'm talking to Dr. Willett.
Who's that, Charles?
He wants to know about the work.
Charles?
This is not your business, Doctor.
Who am I speaking to?
Do not call here again.
Dr. Allen?
At the start of all this, I told you we'd be covering this story week to week and that you'd be in lockstep with us. That was always the intention, but circumstances conspired against us. I know now how this ends. The last episode you heard was episode 6. This is the beginning of episode 7, but I'm recording this introduction as part of our sessions on the last episode, episode 10. That'll make a little more sense as we go forward, I think. The audio clip you just heard was the last time Dr. Willett spoke to Charles Dexter Ward, but it's before Ward was incarcerated in a mental facility and before he disappeared. That's not going to make much sense now because we know Willett was his doctor when Ward was locked up, and we know that Willett visited Ward on the night he vanished. But put a pin in this and remember what I said. This is the last time Dr. Willett spoke to Charles Dexter Ward. This conversation is the last piece of the puzzle, but you're going to have to wait to see how it fits into the picture. At the end of episode 6, Kennedy Fisher was missing. At that time, I didn't know what had happened to her. I got out of hospital and received the footage she'd uploaded for episode 5, which I put out unedited because I really wasn't up to doing anything with it. I had a message from Kennedy that she was heading out to this trailer park where she thought Charles Dexter Ward had been doing his experiments. And that's the last I'd heard from her. I called repeatedly, but just got her voicemail. I found a number for Ezra Whedon, the retired cop who'd been helping Kennedy, but I couldn't get hold of him either. Ditto George Shepley. Given what had happened to me, I feared the worst. But I also knew that Kennedy was tough, and I knew she'd gone off radar before chasing down leads, so I tried not to worry too much. I called the Providence Police Department to register my concerns. They sent a patrol car out to the Devil's Reef trailer park, but there was no sign of Kennedy. The guy who runs the place said she had come by a few days earlier, and he'd let her into Ward's trailer, but she'd left without returning the key, and he was pretty pissed off about that. The cops took a look around Ward's trailer, but they said it didn't look like anyone had been in there for years. So I just had to wait. I was wary of pursuing my own leads because they related to the Tillinghast family, and I wasn't eager to spend any more time in hospital until I had something solid to report. So I went back to Dr. Eleanor Peck, the historian, and I played her episode 5 and asked for her insights. What Kennedy had found out intrigued Dr. Peck. She went back to her books, and then she came back to me. And the story she told me is what we're putting out now as episode 7 of The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. I'm calling this episode The Legend of Kuya. I'm Matthew Hayward, and this is The Mystery Machine.
This is very strange, and it's not a story I would usually give any credence to beyond it being interesting. But I've listened to your podcast, and from the state of you, I can see that someone is taking it seriously.
They do seem to be. And I should say, if you're uncomfortable from a safety point of view...
Oh, bollocks. I'm a 45-year-old academic. I'm not going to tell you anything that couldn't be dug up by a half-decent researcher. If anyone's got a problem with anything I have to say... Anyway, most of the people I'm talking about have been dead a long time, but this is useful background because, well, if I can speak plainly...
Of course.
You're making a mess of this.
Okay.
I understand why. I realise you have this whole true crime, pull the threads and see where they lead approach, but if you were in one of my classes, you'd get a clip around the ear.
Can you be specific?
Yes, I can. You're all over the shop. You've got a fella disappears from a nut house in America. His doctor comes over here and murders a woman. You've got the New Forest Coven and this Barbara Sayers person who keeps popping up and seems to connect the whole thing. But you're not seeing the wood for the trees.
And what is the wood?
The belief. All these people believe in something.
Kuya.
Yes, you're saying it, but you don't know what it is.
Well, I suppose we didn't think it was...
I get it. You usually investigate unsolved murders and the like, and it's all very real world, and the motivations are pretty clear and reasonably logical. That's not the case here. You're dealing with faith. Witches get a bad rap from the media, and we all think they're a bit silly. But they believe in things every bit as much as a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim. And if you don't have a handle on the belief system, you can't possibly begin to fathom the motivations of the people who are acting on that faith.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, good. Do you want a drink of something?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So let's start at the beginning, which is around about 612 BC. The city of Nineveh in Mesopotamia. For the previous 50 years, Nineveh had been the largest city in the world. It sits on the banks of the Tigris, pretty much where the Iraqi city of Mosul is today. Now, Mesopotamia, at that time, is steeped in magical belief. We're nearly 1,000 years before the birth of Muhammad, so there's no Islam, and we're 4 centuries away from Christianity kicking off. Mesopotamia has the world's first recorded religion, and it's a polytheistic belief system. They believed the world was flat and surrounded by water, and that it had been born from a gigantic ocean.
Right.
Religions are all based on fear of some kind, and one of the chief fears of the Mesopotamians was black magic. Now, I don't want you imagining these people are backwards. They were astronomers, doctors. The technology they developed to work with copper and glass and to build irrigation systems. This was an advanced society. We have 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 365 days in a year because Mesopotamian maths was based on a sexagesimal system, base 60, if you can imagine that, and it's stuck to this day. Nonetheless, they still spent a disproportionate amount of time worrying about being cursed by sorcerers. Now, in 612 BC, the authorities in Nineveh nick one of these sorcerers. Someone has grassed him up for putting the evil eye on people, and that's not the sort of thing that went down well. They viewed someone like that how we might view a serial killer today. The fellow they busted was called Ibku Aya. And Ibku Aya wasn't just your bog-standard evil wizard. This guy was like the Albert Einstein of magic. And you have to remember, there's no distinction being drawn between magic and science. That distinction wasn't really made here until the early 1700s. Isaac Newton was as keen on alchemy as he was on the calculus. It's important to understand that. If you think the world is a flat disk floating in an infinite ocean, if you literally know nothing about the building blocks of creation, how the human body works, the solar system, weather, then it's all up for grabs. It's not science or magic. Anything that can't be explained is magic until we understand it, and then it's science. And that's still true today. We think we've got it pretty much all figured out and we're all super rational now. Well, they thought that then. And in 3,000 years, people will look back on us sitting here and giggle pretty hard at some of the things we think we know.
That makes sense.
Anyway, Ibku Aya. So I tend to ramble, but you can cut that stuff out, can't you?
I can, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Legend has it that Ibku Aya was a pioneer in the world of magic. Who knows if he had actually put the evil eye on someone or if he'd even tried to. But according to the stories, he'd been working for years on a method of extending life. Specifically, he was interested in preserving the soul, the spirit, after death. Physical bodies decay and die. Ibku Aya, and lots of practitioners like him through the ages, believed that there was an essential part of a person that was contained within the physical body but didn't have to decay and die with it. And supposedly, Ibku Aya had cracked this and had figured out how to transfer his spirit from his body into some kind of artifact, and from there it could be put into another, younger, healthier physical body, a willing recipient. The only requirement was that the new host had to be from the same bloodline. In modern terms, it was a transplant that required a DNA match. Luckily, there was no shortage of potential hosts. So here's the story. Ibku Aya is sentenced to death for being an evil sorcerer. Before the sentence is carried out, he somehow manages to transfer his immortal soul into a temporary vessel, and this is left with his followers, along with instructions carved on clay tablets for how to perform the ritual and move Ibku Aya's soul into the body of one of his many children. Ibku Aya is executed. But before his followers can enact the second part of the ritual, Nineveh is sacked, and the city destroyed by an army of Babylonians, Persians, Scythians, and so on, all the result of this civil war that's been raging in Assyria for years. Crucially, the artifact containing Ibku Aya's soul and the tablets holding the ritual instructions are lost, buried somewhere in this ruined city. Now, the followers of Ibku Aya form a secret society dedicated to his teachings. They never find the lost artifact or the tablets, but there are rumours that they made some serious headway on a lot of his magical theories, and there are some who'll tell you that they even managed to partially raise the dead.
Partially?
I suppose they mean like zombies. They're not people, but they're animated corpses.
Really?
No, not really. Well, I mean, who knows? But I'm telling you the story. My narration does not imply belief. So, then we get to something your friend Kennedy stumbled upon. Abdul al-Hazred.
The Necronomicon guy?
The Necronomicon guy. Al-Hazred is a member of the Ibku Aya cult, this secret society, and he's also, by any contemporary account, as mad as a badger. In 700 AD, so this is 1,000 years later now, in 700 AD, Al-Hazred goes back to the ruins of Nineveh. In Kennedy's report, she says, who knows what he found? Well, according to the legend, he found a bunch of Ibku Aya's teachings carved into clay tablets. He didn't find the artifact or the ritual tablets, but he seems to have stumbled across quite a wealth of other knowledge. He takes what he found out into the desert to a place called Roba el Khalifa, or the empty space. Alhazred claims to have found there an underground chamber where he discovered the annals and secrets of a race of beings that inhabited the earth long before humans. He spends 10 years underneath the desert, learning the secrets of death from these pre-human beings, and then he heads back to Damascus and he sits down and distills everything he learned into the Necronomicon. Now, apparently, his deal with these elder beings didn't include the book rights, and Alhazred, writing the Necronomicon, seems to have pissed them off quite badly. In 738 AD, Alhazred is devoured in the middle of a Damascene street by what witnesses claim was an invisible monster, and the Necronomicon, if it ever actually existed in the first place, vanished. From 750 AD onwards, the followers of Ibn-Kuya and by extension Alhazred split into various cults and factions, and they move around, and the belief system is diluted and dispersed, but elements of it are found in the history of magic all over the world, and many of them form the bedrock of modern witchcraft. Even if not everyone focuses specifically on Ibn-Kuya. From the Comte Saint-Germain to Cagliostro through to John Dee, Elizabeth I's astronomer and court magician who pioneered Enochian magic, you can find this Alhazred Ibn-Kuya stuff running through all of them. Most British villages in the early modern era had a shaman, a folk healer and magical practitioner known as a cunning man. One of these was a man named Mr. Ely, who appears in an account of the crossing of the Mayflower to America in 1620. Ely isn't on the passenger manifest, but he is referred to in the diaries of one of the other men on board, William Bradford. Bradford tells us that as soon as the ship landed at Plymouth Rock, Ely disappeared. It's thought by some that Ely was responsible for disseminating the teachings of Alhazred amongst the early English settlers. I mention Ely specifically because after I listened to your podcast, I went back to look at what we know of him, and you can draw a pretty clear hereditary line from him down to Howard Ward.
So he's an ancestor of Charles Dexter Ward?
It's possible. Oh, you die of old age trying to prove it for sure. Our next port of call, history-wise, is in 1842, when the French consul general in Mosul, a guy called Paul-Émile Botta, launches the excavation of the ancient city of Nineveh. Now, this was the Victorian era, when they were digging stuff up all over the world and filling museums. People were making a fortune with this stuff, and so the minute a new dig started, there'd be people crawling all over it for a piece of the action. In 1847, a young British diplomat called Austin Henry Layard shows up, and he's decided that he's going to... Where's the quote? Layard said he's going to, quote, obtain the largest possible number of well-preserved objects of art at the least possible outlay of time and money, thus proving that lazy, greedy, entitled twats aren't anything new. In 1851, Layard, unfortunately for those who believe in the virtues of hard work, literally stumbles across the Royal Library of Ashburnipal, which houses 22,000 cuneiform tablets, a huge amount of valuable information on Nineveh and Mesopotamian culture as a whole. Now, at the same time, his assistant, a Syrian called Hormaz Rassam, excavates a mound near to the library, and he finds a small collection of tablets and artefacts that seem to be part of a private collection. Rassam's finds were put on a ship with Layard's, the whole lot bound to the British Museum. But no one labelled them properly, and there were supposedly some missing when the ship was unloaded in England. Was anything missing? We don't know. If something was missing, we have no way of knowing what it was. But legends don't care about stuff like that. So for the purposes of our story, which isn't really ours, it's theirs, the stuff that went missing was the Ibn-Kuya artefact and the clay tablet instruction manual. So now they're in England. 1860. A cunning man in Hadley, in Essex, James Murrell. He's well known as the last of the cunning men. Cunning Murrell, he was called. According to our legend, Murrell is in possession of the Ibn-Kuya tablets and artefact, and he actually performs the prescribed ritual. he released the spirit of Ibkuaya and put it into the body of his apprentice, a man named George Pickingill. Murrell subsequently dies in mysterious circumstances, and Pickingill goes on to acquire quite the reputation as an occultist and black magician. Everyone's terrified of him, very much like how the people of Nineveh felt about Ibkuaya. When Pickingill finally dies in 1909, he's 103, which made him the oldest man in England. Then we get sketchy for a few years. Supposedly, Pickingill, on his deathbed, put Ibkuaya into the body of a guy called Edward Lansdale, who was an acolyte of Pickingill's, as well as being a theosophist and a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Aleister Crowley's mob. Lansdale died in France in 1914 at the Battle of the Marne, and we know very little about him. But there's this guy called Rudolf Glandeck von Subottendorf. He's right out of Indiana Jones, this guy. He was mates with Lansdale, so the story goes, and he took on Ibkuaya when Lansdale died. In 1916, von Subottendorf is one of the founders of the Tula Society. You heard of them?
Nazi occultists.
Close enough. There's actually a really interesting thread that runs from Blavatsky's Theosophist through Tula and into fascism, but the salient point here is that the Tula Society were into Norse mythology and the Grail myths and all kinds of batshit stuff, and von Subottendorf himself was a Freemason. His partner in crime was a bloke called Hermann Pohl. Now, Pohl had spent the First World War selling good luck charms made out of bronze to German soldiers. His most popular design was a symbol of power that was supposed to represent Thor's hammer set against the sun. You'd recognise it today as a swastika.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you think that's weird, try this out for size. Pohl and von Subottendorf spend a few years attracting like-minded lunatics to the Tula Society. They're going to take over the world, kill all the Jews, which was a recurring theme for all of these guys, and bring back the old Norse gods who they genuinely believed were real. In 1918, the Tula Society becomes Tula Gesellschaft, and they'd moved off the more esoteric stuff and decided that what Odin and Thor and that lot would really want would be an end to communism. So they start stockpiling weapons to attack the Communist Party in Germany. A year later, Tula Gesellschaft merges with the Committee of Independent Workers. This new group needs a new name, and they settle on the German Workers' Party. Hitler takes over, adopts the swastika as the official symbol, and eventually changes the group's name again to the National Socialist German Workers' Party. But let's not lose sight of old Rudolf Glandeck von Subottendorf, because he's Ibkuaya, according to the legend, remember? And he was just instrumental in the creation of the most evil force of humans in history. Not only that, though, but von Subottendorf is tied in to the Vril Society, who make the Tula lot look like the WI. Vril have been written off as nutters by everyone who's anyone because they believed in a race of people who lived on Earth before humans, who had contact with beings from outer space, and who were hiding their spaceships under Antarctica.
Wait, this race of pre-humans?
Yeah. That's the connection you're meant to make to the elder beings that Alhazred claimed to have spent 10 years hanging out with in the desert, the beings whose teachings form the Necronomicon. But joining the dots is easy when you can make any picture you want. And that's how these things take form. Ibkuaya is everywhere you look in the history of the occult. And it ties into everything. How did the Nazis get rocket technology so much earlier than everyone else? Clever scientists or alien tech from Antarctica?
Do I have to pick one?
No, you just have to understand how this legend flows like water, moulding itself around every bit of history it comes across. Ignore that von Subottendorf ended up penniless in Turkey at the end of the Second World War, having been a double agent for the British. Ignore the fact that his spy master said he was the most useless spy they'd ever worked with, and that all he did was wang on about magical beings in Tibet. Von Subottendorf threw himself off a bridge into the Bosphorus in 1945. Where was Ibkuaya then? Had he moved on? When? To who? None of the people who believe this stuff care. He kick-started the Nazis is the only bit they tell, and then they ignore all the inconvenient stuff he did afterwards, and they make the jump to the New Forest and Old Dorothy. But who was Old Dorothy? Gerald Gardner never told us. If she was Ibkuaya, then why wasn't Aleister Crowley interested in the Wicca movement? He was an Alhazred devotee, spent his life searching for the Necronomicon, but when Gardner asked him to join the Wiccans, He walked away. He didn't think Kuya was there. And then the next time we hear about the New Forest Coven, Joseph Kerwin is in charge. Well, who is he? No one knows where he came from. I've never been able to find a notice of his birth, school records, employment details. He just pitches up in the New Forest claiming to be Kuya. He pulls in the Tillinghasts. Now, don't make that face. Supposedly gets both Eliza Tillinghast and Caroline Hughes up the stick, probably knocks them both about into the bargain, and then he's off to the Process Church in London, then LaVey's lot in San Francisco, Manson, Son of Sam, but there are no photographs of this guy anywhere. No record of him ever existing. People claim to have met him all along the line, but where's the proof? Was he brilliant at hiding himself, or was he a phantom, or an urban legend? Even at that siege in Rhode Island, what did that cop say? They kicked in the door and there was no one there. Kerwin had vanished. Or had he? Was he ever there in the first place?
But if he never existed...
It doesn't matter if he exists. It only matters that people believe in him, and that they believe he was Kuya, and that they believe in his bloodline.
Which is Charles Dexter Ward and Lucy Hawthorne.
And they're both nurtured by this Barbara Sayers woman who is clearly a Class A lunatic. And the faithful somehow think they're linked all the way back to this mad old wizard in Nineveh 2,500 years ago. This story is older than Christianity and Islam. There are people out there who believe that the likes of Charles Dexter Ward and Lucy Hawthorne are direct descendants, like they're Jesus' kids. And this is my point, because that is the motivation here. Someone kicks your head in, threatens Kennedy Fisher. It's not because you're going to cause some mild embarrassment to some retired public servant with a silly name. It's because they've been keeping the faith for over 2 millennia, and they don't want you busting it all wide open. They believe in this stuff, and they believe in it so much that it actually doesn't matter if a shred of it is true. The belief itself is enough to make people do terrible things like found the fucking Nazi party. These are the forces that are ranged against you.
Okay.
And you want to know the real kicker? Dr. Willett came over here and he murdered a young woman in cold blood. He'd never met her, had nothing to do with her. Was he insane? Define insanity. I think in the coldest, most rational way you or I can imagine, Willett had become convinced that this woman, in the absence of Charles Dexter Ward, was all set to wreak havoc on the human race. It's the old question. If you could go back in time and kill Hitler while he was still painting postcards, would you do it? Well, if you did, to the people of that time, you're a crazy person who just killed an innocent man for no reason. What did Lucy Hawthorne do for a living?
She reviewed video games.
Exactly. Painting postcards, writing game reviews. But what would she have become? What did Willett believe she was going to become? That man in Broadmoor now, is he a homicidal maniac, or did he just save the world?
Well, if he did, then we're out of danger, aren't we?
If that bloodline ended with 2 people, yes. But that's not how belief works, is it? There needs to be another out there somewhere. Kuya, the idea, needs a body. And you can bet they're all looking for it right now.
Awesome! Alright, I'm going to take a quick break. But for you, it'll be a quick cut to the next episode, just as my tape failed there, and episode 8 in 1 second. Hello, goblins. Hopefully, we've just dived straight from episode 7 right to this bit. I've switched situations and got myself a coffee and packed a pipe. Now I've got some carving to do. This is now episode 8, and there's a few twists and turns. It's all very exciting. I'm going to be smoking an HU tobacco, Sarah. As Mara. Oh, and here's the strawberry. I couldn't get, it was very dark over by the buffing wheel, so here's the strawberry. It was dark over here as well. I thought you'd be able to get a good look at it. But it's very, very dark. Okay. You can't see the grain. Never mind. Without further ado then, let's crack on. Episode 8.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Yeah, hi. This is a message for Matthew Haywood. My name's Ezra Wheaton. Kennedy Fisher gave me your number and asked me to call. I'm in the Sacred Heart Hospital here in Providence, Rhode Island. Miss Fisher is here with me as a patient. She's being treated for some minor cuts and bruises, a mild concussion, and I believe she's in shock. Her condition is not life-threatening, and they expect she'll be discharged tomorrow morning. I need you to give me a call back because the hospital are asking about Miss Fisher's insurance, and she says you have the details there. My number is...
That was the voicemail message I received 3 days after Kennedy disappeared. It came as a big relief, as you might expect. I called Ezra and we worked out the whole insurance business. The next day, Kennedy called me.
Hey.
Oh my God, how are you? You feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, not a scratch. I'm just packing up my stuff and then I'm out of here.
What happened? Your friend Ezra said he found you in some tunnels.
Yeah, underneath the Devil's Reef Trailer Park. Charles Dexter Ward's secret workshop.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to send you the audio today.
Yeah, what can you tell me?
I don't want to talk about it, not right now. Listen to the audio and then...
Okay, but you're all right.
I'm okay.
You should come back. I can book you a flight.
I'm staying here for the moment. There's still stuff to look into.
You're in hospital. Whatever happened, you should rest. And there's stuff going on here.
Yeah, where were you?
Well, that's kind of... Well, I was in hospital for a little bit too, but someone here isn't a fan of the podcast.
Are you serious?
No, I'm fine. It's nothing to worry about. But I think you should be careful. Tap the brakes a little.
No. Listen to the audio. I'm going to send it through in a minute. I'm onto something here.
Kennedy.
I gotta go.
Who's there?
It's okay.
Sorry. I didn't know you were...
It's George Shepley.
The librarian? I didn't realize you two were
I'll
still...
talk to you later. Hi.
Sorry, I could have waited outside.
It's fine. I'm just packing up my stuff.
Are you going back to England?
Nope. I'm sticking around.
Okay. Good. Excellent. Is there anything I can help you with?
I don't think so.
I've been keeping up with the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's intriguing.
Oh, it's that.
I'm sorry. I think I came at a bad time.
I'm sorry. No, you didn't. I have a lot on my mind. I'm pleased that you came. Thank you.
I'd just like to help out if I can.
Well, thanks, but... Actually, you've been listening to the podcast? You know this guy, Lyman?
The doctor? Willett's associate?
Could you check him out for me?
Check him out? How?
Like, make sure he's legit. I think I've been taking a lot of things at face value here, and I think that was a mistake.
You mean, is he a real doctor? But haven't you been to his office? I'm sure it's not that easy to pose as...
is he who he says he is? He has all this information on Willett, supposedly because they were friends. But this Dr. Allen character that Ward was hanging around with, he's still out there somewhere. And I'm wondering if he's hiding in plain sight.
Is Dr. Lyman really Dr. Allen?
Does that sound crazy?
It's a little dramatic, isn't it?
Believe me, not compared to what I've experienced recently.
I'm not sure. I understood you'd fallen down a hole?
Well, it was a little more than... Look, this is probably nothing about Lyman, but I'd just like to be sure.
Well, I'll look into it. Where are you off to now?
Ezra's picking me up. We're going back to the hole I fell down.
Is that wise?
I've never been wise.
Well, then I feel like I should come with you.
No. I'd rather you were out here, knowing where we are if something goes wrong.
Then can I buy you dinner tonight?
Dinner?
It's the meal after lunch, but before...
That's only cute in the movies.
Yeah, I felt bad even as I was saying it.
But I will be hungry.
You ready?
I am. Ezra Whedon, George Shepley.
Ah, one of the stars of the show.
He's talking about the podcast.
Yeah, huh?
George is the librarian at the school. He's been helping me out with research.
Good to meet you. You ready?
Yeah. George, I'll see you...
8 o'clock, the Courthouse Tavern. Even if I have nothing useful to report, you'll thank me for introducing you to their filet mignon.
This is it? This is where the siege happened?
Yeah, this is the place. My buddy and I was stationed right over there for the siege. The house was across there.
That's what I thought. Is that?
I have a permit.
Okay. This way. Mr. Tregore?
Help you?
This is an associate of mine, Mr. Whedon.
We met when I came and got you out of here.
We'd like to go back in the tunnels.
Not gonna happen.
Why not?
Not safe.
Says who?
Says her if she got any sense. Already got stuck down there once.
Well, now there's two of us.
Two get stuck as easy as one.
You got all your paperwork in order here? Liability insurance, IRS accounts? You employ people to clean up or what have you? They pay down the books?
You a cop?
Used to be. Still got friends.
Yeah. Wait here. You know where it is.
You're coming with us.
I don't do confined spaces.
You're not going in the tunnels, but I want you in the cabin. I want you watching that trapdoor the whole time we're down there.
I got shit to do.
Shut up.
Where did everything go? There were books in here and a cot through there. Who cleared this place out?
There's such a thing as confidentiality, you know.
Sure, like attorney-client privilege, but for white trash.
Who cleared it out?
When people come and go, sometimes I'm busy.
Jesus, who did you give the fucking key to?
I didn't give it to no one.
So whoever it was already had a key.
Who had the key?
Was it Dr. Allen? Was Dr. Allen here? Can you, break his fingers or something?
I could dislocate them. It hurts just as much, but it's harder to prove anything happened.
You ain't gonna lay a gas.
Start with the freaking key.
Fine. Pure assholes. This doctor fella shows up yesterday in a rental truck, empties the place out.
Did he go into the tunnels?
I don't know. I stayed in the office.
Why did you stay in the office?
Because it ain't my business what a person does in his own place.
You're scared of this guy?
Fuck you.
How do you get in touch with him?
I don't.
If you needed to, if this place was flooded or on fire or...
I don't. That happens. First he's gonna know of it is when he comes here, which is pretty much never. I got no address, no number. I swear to God, if I could make this asshole your problem, I would.
He's already our problem. Let's get in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Now you wait here, you understand? With the trapdoor open. You don't move from this spot. We're not back in 1 hour. You got a watch?
I got a watch.
1 hour from now, we're not back. You call 911. You understand?
It ain't complicated.
Okay, but if we get back in 65 minutes and the cops are not on their way here...
Yeah.
That would be bad for you.
He gets it. Let's go. You keep that trapdoor open, okay? The whole time.
Got it.
feels different.
Different how?
I don't know. Fresher, maybe?
Nothing about this place feels fresh to me.
Like someone's been here recently. Are you smelling that?
I smoked 60 cigarettes a day for the best part of 40 years. I don't smell shit.
I think it's gasoline.
Now I smell it.
He's doused everything. Why would he do that and then not... It's still here.
What is that?
I don't know. I saw something down there, but I don't know what it was.
Something alive?
You didn't see it when you found me?
This is where I found you, in here.
Well, I don't remember. I must have made it this far. I think I panicked and I must have run. We should check it out.
Wait. This whole place is soaked in gasoline. There's no ventilation.
So don't light a match. I didn't come down here just to turn around. And what if he's still here? Dr. Allen.
Why would he be?
Because he didn't torch the place yet.
Then we should go back up and wait for him.
He might have another way out. Come on. I want you to see what's down here. And if he's here, I want to... Shit.
Run!
Call 911! Where did he go? Jesus.
This is bad.
He's... Oh, Jesus.
Were these gas canisters in the kitchen before? Oh, boy. Yeah, he's dead. And there's no way that's self-inflicted.
What gas canisters? What the...
Secondary explosion down below. If the flames make it up to that gas... Go!
Hello?
Is this the mystery machine?
Can I ask who's calling?
I was given this number by, Kennedy Fisher. She said to call if... I can't get hold of Miss Fisher.
Who's calling?
Is this Mr. Haywood?
Sorry, who is this?
My name is Lyman. Dr. Mark Lyman. I used to work with...
Yes, Dr. Willett. Yes, I know who you are, Dr. Lyman. This is Matthew Haywood speaking.
Okay, well, I have a reason to... Sounds a little ridiculous now I'm saying it aloud. I have a file I need to email to you.
What kind of file?
It's an audio file. It's quite large. I have it on a cloud server, so I could send the link through to you. I understand you're in a secure location?
Yeah. What is the file?
It's going to be fairly self-explanatory. I didn't tell Miss Fisher about it because... Well, I didn't think it should be heard by anyone, but now,
And now what?
I'm going to send you the file through. And, would I use the address Miss Fisher gave to me, the one on the card?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
And it's secure.
It is, yeah. Is there something wrong, Dr. Lyman?
I don't know. There's a man outside.
Outside your building?
No, in the waiting room. He made an appointment, told my assistant he was an old colleague of mine, so he gave his name as Dr. Allen.
Oh, okay. Have you seen him?
No, but he's out there now. He's waiting.
Have you called the police?
And say what? What? Some guy made an appointment? I don't know.
And you've never met Dr. Allen?
I have not. One moment. 2 minutes, please, Elizabeth. Look, I'm sending you the link now.
Would you like me to call the police for you, Dr. Lyman?
No,
Okay, well, the link has just come through, so...
Oh, Jesus.
Dr. Lyman? Dr. Lyman?
Hey! What are you...
Oh, shit. Dr. Lyman?
Amelia Fenner had a child.
Dr. Allen.
Hi. Do you have a reservation with us this evening?
I think so. In the name of Shepley?
One moment. Oh, I'm afraid I don't... Oh, sorry, yes. George Shepley. I'm afraid Mr. Shepley hasn't arrived yet.
Okay.
Your table's right this way.
Hello?
It's Ezra Whedon. Where are you?
Hold on a second.
Can I get you something to drink?
Yeah, just a vodka and lime.
No problem.
Hi.
You need to get out of there.
Excuse me?
Mark Lyman is dead.
Lyman?
It was on the police scanner half an hour ago. Someone came to his office, killed his assistant and him, and trashed the place.
Oh, my God. Dr. Allen.
So, because of that, and because of what happened out at the trailer park today, I started looking into everyone who knew where we were going. You told George Shepley.
Yeah, but I wasn't specific about where.
And you told him to look into Lyman.
Okay, yeah, but... Ezra, George is the school librarian.
The school librarian is a woman named Marjorie Wilde. Has been for the past 7 years. No one at that school ever heard of a George Shepley. Kennedy?
I'll call you back.
There you are. Sorry I'm late. I was looking into this Dr. Lyman of yours, and time rather got away from me. Now, I think I said before, you really must try the filet mignon.
Uh-oh. Kennedy's in trouble. Hope you enjoyed that. If everyone's up for it, I'll do the last 2 episodes as back-to-back next Monday as well. We'll see what you say. If you're up for it, we'll do it. Otherwise, we'll do it as 2 separate weeks. All right. That's it. What will happen next? Who knows? All right. Take it easy, goblins. Until next time. See you soon.